You know, I don't even remember smoking my first cigarette because it was almost like cigarettes were just part of growing up. It was part of life. And my father smoked, my grandfather smoked, most of my older brothers and sisters smoked. Smoking cigarettes was almost a badge of honor when I was growing up. It was part of your identity. It was part of being a teenager. It was part of showing that you were even somewhat strong. I knew how addicted I was to cigarettes. And it wasn't that's not a comfortable feeling, knowing that you can't go anywhere without knowing where your cigarettes are. If I think back, it's just how insensitive. I mean, I think of myself as a sensitive person and that I care about others. And to think that I never once thought about where I was blowing my smoke and whether it was blowing right into the face of a 2-year-old. I never thought about it. That's incredible to me. Becoming pregnant and knowing that I was going to have my first child was really the first time in my life that I had a sense of real purpose. I loved that child more than anything. So at about 2.5 years old, I was driving her one day to go to preschool, and I was driving in the car, and I looked over at my beautiful little girl, and she cracked the window a little, and then she did this. And I still get chills up and down my body when I think of that and when I see that. And I just right then said, I'm quitting smoking. Understand what those triggers are. Know that they're there so that when they happen, you can switch your brain and say, I'm not gonna feed into that. I'm not gonna go there. I smoked for a good 20 years, at least a pack a day. I have now not smoked for 22 years. So I've actually not smoked for longer than the time that I smoked. Know that it's possible. Know that it's worth it. Know that you're going to have slips. Things are going to happen and you're going to mess up. And then you're just going to wake up and go right back on the path of saying that I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and you can do it.
Normally I was a half a pack a day smoker for 25 years. October 16th of 2011, I had a real small minor heart attack, little blockage. He said, you have to quit smoking or you will have another one. Anything, oh, we got you on the blood thinner, you know, exercise and quit smoking and you'll be fine. March 27th this year, I had a major heart attack, a massive one. They put 3 stents in my heart. It was a stage 3 heart attack. I spent a couple days in the hospital. Luckily, there's no damage. They just put some stents in. And the doctor said to me, my cardiologist says, you did not quit smoking. No, I did not. I guess you could say I was scared to quit. I didn't want to feel down. I didn't want the depression. I didn't want the weight gain. To quit, I mean, this is the toughest thing I've ever done in my life, is quit smoking. Here 3 months later, I'm starting to be okay, but is the urge always, it's never there? No, I still have the urge. Last Friday, you know, I thought, man, maybe I'll just have a cigarette. Right now, I use a patch. I do have a patch on right now. I've been doing it for 3 months. I'm down to 4 mil, the lowest one there is. That's how I quit smoking. I hate to say it took a second heart attack to quit smoking, but if I can quit smoking after, 25 years, it can be done. I didn't gain weight. I'm not crabby. I'm not miserable. I'm as happy as I've ever been. I got way more energy. I mean, I got all this energy I don't even know what to do with. You just gotta stick with your goals. You gotta just stick with it. When you want a cigarette, chew some gum. Eat a handful of grapes, walk your dog, you know, do some exercise. Quit now while you can. The earlier you quit, the sooner you quit, the easier it is. Life is just so much better since I stopped smoking.
I spent a lot of time with my grandparents, and my grandmother and grandfather both smoked. Middle school is when I first started, and I was a cheerleader and track and did all of that stuff, but at high school, we had a smoking section. It's terrifying now as a parent to think, not much older than what my son is now, I was doing stuff that if he was to come close to it, I would lose my mind. When I was pregnant with my son, I talked to my doctor about it. And because, I found out I was pregnant at about 8 weeks, but I was smoking a pack a day. Once he got to the point where he came to me and said, "Mom, please stop," and was very sincere and, was old enough as opposed to, ew, or, something like that, but when he could really tell me his feelings about me smoking and stuff, that I would stop. And so he came to me one day and he said, "Mom, I want you here forever, and please stop smoking."
When I first started noticing her smoke, I thought maybe that's her last cigarette, maybe she'll stop pretty soon. And when she didn't stop, I went to her.
When I quit smoking, I was up to 2.5 packs a day. And so I always thought it was going to be extremely hard for me to stop. But once he came to me and asked, I went to a friend of mine who told me about Chantix. Pneumonia couldn't stop me from smoking, bronchitis, asthma attacks, any of that stuff, they never stopped me from smoking. But Chantix, one dose of Chantix, and I was just like, oh. Now my grandmother, she was born and raised in an orphanage. And so I think she started smoking because she actually used to pick tobacco. It was in North Carolina. After a lot of years, she developed COPD from it. Maybe if you had stopped smoking when you first got diagnosed with COPD, maybe it would have given you only an extra 6 months, but I would have taken an extra 6 minutes with her. After she passed away, I couldn't let go of her hand. It was all with the smoking.
Sometimes I don't like to talk about it because sometimes it just breaks my heart to talk about my Mimi.
And they now have a thing called third-hand smoke. And a year and a half later, after my grandmother had passed away, I was still getting sick and he was still getting sick because of the furniture. I remember, she used to say all the time, "Oh, I'm not hurting anybody but myself." She didn't believe in secondhand smoke. If the first way you try doesn't work, don't be ashamed of that. And if it takes you 20 times, 20 different ways to try to stop, keep at it. If that's what you really want, keep at it. Because eventually you will find the way.
If I had to say something to those smokers out there, I'd say stop right now, because it's not good for your lungs, and I don't want you to go through what my grandma's gone through.
I've pretty much gotten done with boot camp in the military, and my buddy, he decided that he was going to light up a cigarette, and he wanted me to try it, and I said that I don't smoke, I've never smoked before, and he said, well, there's a first for everybody. I started to realize towards the end of my enlistment that I shouldn't be smoking anymore. Another thing that motivated me was having siblings at home, my 2 younger sisters, that I didn't need to be smoking around them. I was told that you're breaking one of the long-standing traditions of the military. You know, smoking's been around forever. You know, and my social group looked at me funny because I wasn't smoking. I wasn't going out with them to the smoke pit. You know, so it was very different for a while. A lot of people were confused with, well, why'd you quit smoking? One day I wanted to quit smoking. The next day I was buying another pack, and it was very difficult because I went very much back and forth of I want to smoke, I don't want to smoke, I want to smoke, I don't want to smoke. You slip, you know, I did with cigarettes. I mean, I smoked, and then I would go 3 weeks without having a smoke, and then my buddy would be standing next to me smoking, and it would trigger just like that. I don't really think about cigarettes anymore. I just use alternatives. If I get frustrated, I go and work out. If I need something, I'll eat something like a carrot or celery. I will use any kind of substitute in this motion to replace that motion with a cigarette in my mouth. It was very much a trigger being in places that with people that were smoking around me. That was kind of tough, but now I try and ignore it. I just walk away to another room so I'm not around it. Because if you're not around it, then there's no temptation, there's no trigger for you. It's a long ride on a roller coaster, no matter what. I don't think I've ever met somebody that just quit in one day. I think that's a little far-fetched. Ultimately, you have to do it for yourself.
When I was in about 7th grade, I just all of a sudden got with the wrong crowd, and that was the in thing to do. Everybody was smoking, and probably when I got up in the morning, I would have some coffee and a cigarette, and take a shower, and then smoke a cigarette as I was doing my hair and my makeup. I smoked in my car. I smoked around my children. While I was in prison, I decided I learned how to love. I learned how to love myself enough that I knew that I deserved a better life than I had ever allowed myself to have. So I just decided I was going to change everything. I had tried to quit smoking. I had also tried to quit doing drugs several times. And I would go a day or two, and I would try not to buy cigarettes or and then somebody would be around me and I'm like, hey, can I have a cigarette? Just one. January 6, 2006, I quit smoking cigarettes. And then the last time that I did drugs was July 5th, 2007. I think it's about learning to love yourself enough to be healthy, to only allow healthy things in your life, and to just realize that you're worth so much more. I think I just always remember where my life was and where I don't want it to be. Just to have hope, that there is hope out there, that there's people that will support you, there's programs and tools, and not to be ashamed or afraid, not to let their fears hold them back, to ask for help. And there's so many people out there that are willing to help people now. It's amazing. I don't know what I thought was going to happen that day when I walked out of prison, but I've made an amazing life for myself.
Probably one of the first few times I was trying to quit, I was in high school. And I tried once when I was, I think, about a junior in high school, and it did. I quit for maybe a day, if that long. I'd say some of my hard times to get away from were right after meals. That was like my dessert, having the cigarette at the end of it. You know, I think I found that when I was smoking, I thought it was okay because I was doing something. And so I'd be running around the house, taking care of some details, and I'd sit down and relax and say, okay, I've earned this. And it got to the point where it kind of bothered me a little bit because it was so much of a necessity. I would guess that I've tried to quit probably about 10 times. 8 to 10 times, I would say. It just took the one drag, and as soon as I had that one drag, within about a week's time, I was up to a half pack of cigarettes. And I just stared myself down and said, I'm ready. I don't want to let anything calm me down or stop me from doing this. And that was the biggest thing I think that made a difference, was the fact that I was ready to quit for me. I was not quitting because somebody said I should, or it would be healthier for me. I was just ready to make a difference on my kids and get it done. And there's no smoke in our house anymore, and that is huge and incredible. And our kids are starting to notice it and going, boy, you know, I really can tell that I don't smell it anymore. I'm like, yes. There's also the fact that I'm noticing now and appreciating as well is the fact that there's no smoking in a lot of public areas anymore. And I think that's good for everyone. Because I got to admit, hearing about the secondhand smoke started getting me kind of bad, because at that point we're smoking around our kids. Is that really a good plan? And I started hearing more and more about the people that they've never smoked in their life, but now they've got cancer and they're going to die. And I'm going, why is that not fair? You know, if they didn't even smoke and they were staying away from it, that's really wrong. That should affect their life like this. Keep trying until you're successful.